Jeevajala, Jeevanaadi is the tagline that we have given. And this particular competition is an effort or collaborative effort of Mysore Water Forum, Mysore School of Architecture, Aranya Outreach, and supported by Bengaluru Sustainability Forum. And we are also in the discussion with various other organizations as knowledge partners and as other organizers or supporting backbone to this particular initiation that we have taken it. Today, as the first introductory session, we had Professor U.N. Ravi Kumar talking on the history and background of Kukrahalli Kere and Purnaiah Canal. Today we have another set of topics which will give more information on Purnaiah Naale on various aspects. To start with, we do have engineer Ramesh Hebbale, who will be taking us through hydrological study on Purnaiah Canal. May I request Lakshmi to please introduce the resource person, Ramesh Hebbale.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Today's session brings together speakers who work at the intersection of water system, environmental education, and urban design, and who have also been closely associated with Water Forum Mysuru. I'll begin by briefly introducing our speakers, after which we'll hear from each of them. So our first speaker today is Mr. Ramesh. So Mr. Ramesh is a senior civil engineer and water resource specialist with over 3 decades of experience in irrigation engineering, urban water management, and flood mitigation. He has worked extensively with the Water Resource Department of Karnataka and has also served as a faculty member at the State Institute of Urban Development, Mysuru. His work spans water conservation, water harvesting, groundwater recharge, stormwater management, and applications of GIS and remote sensing in water governance and disaster risk management. He has been actively involved in training and capacity building programs for engineers, officials across Karnataka, and continues to engage with Water Forum Mysuru on issues related to water system, heritage waterways, and urban resilience. With that, I invite Mr. Ramesh to begin the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Regarding the Purnaiah Canal, we have gone through the basic hydrologic studies with respect to rainfall and runoff conditions. So actually, the Purnaiah Canal starts from the Nagwala tank and Sigehalli. Then it will come to Bomnalli to Madgali tank, Huilalu and Madgali tank. Then it comes to through feed canal. It goes to Kukrali tank. So in this aspect, we gone through the topological studies first. Topological means with respect to you have taken the data from the groundwater department and Survey of India topo sheets, and we studied the so many other parameters. Rainfall conditions from the Water Resource Department of Karnataka. So we have gone through these details. Next. So in the topo sheet, first we have marked the drainage network of the entire system. So in the entire system, there will be also Belwadi tank will also come, and other minor tanks will also come. So these are all the interconnected, and from there it is taken through the feeder canal into the Kukrali Lake. Next. So this is the catchment area marked over the map. Also, we have gone through the oldest topo sheet that is published by the long back. It was published by the government department itself during 1914. So we superimposed the distilled catchment area as well as watershed boundaries and drainage network, as well as the impounding area of the each tanks. So in detail, we studied these hydrologic for the purpose of hydrology. We studied and added the so many issues also. Next. Next. Apart from back. Apart from, we have taken the we have gone through the Google Earth also. In Google Earth also, we have taken they delineated the catchment areas of each tank. So actually, the Google Earth is not exactly matched with the Survey of India topo sheet. That's why we have studied separately. Next. So apart from we visited the sites, Sigalli tank, Nagwala tank, and Bomnali tank, and Huilalu tank, Madigal tank, and every tank we visited to study the existing situation of the tank. Next. So actually, from the we were interesting is during 2011, the urban area is so less compared to 2025. So we have in the urban area will be covered by the, I think, Anjali Sharma. So I will just go through what is the change detection. This what is the exact in 2011? What is the exact real figure during the 2025? So this indicates, this two comparison of the map indicates there is so much of differences in the images. The lane, the path that is that canal was existed clearly during the 2011, but during 2025 it was almost closed at various spots in stretches. Next. Apart from, we have taken the potential recharge map of also from the CLA map. It was developed by the Central Groundwater Department, Government of India. So they indicate that clearly about the probability of recharging structures, suitable structures at so many places. Regarding this map also prepared, so the red mark indicates it is not at all possible to recharge. Green mark is indicated it is possible to recharge. Yellow mark is partially possible. So like that, it is possible to take through the app also after due registration. Next. So apart from through the Dishan tank also, we have surveyed some of the tanks, and we have taken the details about the survey numbers and all. In this context, so many outcomes are come out. Next. Next. So we have traced some of the paths of in the alignment, in the feeder canal alignment of the Pune canal. So through the GPS and Sigalli tank, it may be other tanks, we have visited so many places also. So apart from that, we have taken the contour map also through OpenDem software. So which is available through the open-end software. It is available for the public. So we have overlaid the images and the staged maps over the contour maps also. So it clearly shows the what is the exact locations, how the topographical undulations are existed. Next. Next. So, taking the catchment area through the Survey of India map of the of individual catchments of each tanks. So we have applied the empirical formula for finding the discharge from the catchment. So usually it is applied for normal catchments, considering the some of the coefficients. So these coefficients are generally observed during the field that was incorporated. So if it is some of the tanks with independent catchment also considered separately also. So these from this empirical formula, we arrived the discharge of each tanks. Some of the tanks are going to interconnected to downstream also. Some of additional water, that is surplus water from the weir. Weir means that is constructed over the constructed at the bund, adjacent to bund, which allows the surplus water into the feeder canal. Next. So these are the values tabulated during the our hydrological studies. So in each Sige Koplo, Nagwala, and Bomnalli tank or Huilalo or Madgalli, and other tanks. So I considered each and individual catchment and discharges through the empirical formula. Then we considered the intercepted catchments also. The red indicates the both. It will go to downstream side also. Another surplus water will come through the waste weir, which is surplus over the water into the feeder canal of the Purnaiah canal. So these figures we are compared with the data obtained from the minor irrigation department. They have maintained the registers. Next. So these are the rainfall data considered for the 30 years of rainfall. We are got from the water research department as well as from the groundwater department for the borewell data and open source data. For these two Hobleys, there is marked in blue and brown. So this area will come under the Kukrali canal portion. Next. So we are compared the analyze the data obtained from the groundwater board as well as from the water research department rainfall data also. So this is the groundwater table position in the dug wells. Earlier, because in the earlier period, they are considering the dug wells, which is at Ilwala, because Ilwala is, even though it is Ilwala irrigation station is outside our boundary, is just outside the boundary, but influence is more. That catchment area influences more of the Ilwala irrigation station. That's why you are considered the Ilwala Hobli as well as Bogadi Hobli. So from the dug wells, we observed that there was a lot of fluctuations during the rainfall season and other periods, summer and monsoon period and every season. Then 2007 onwards, they they've gone through the deep bore wells, because up to 2007 to 2010 they're considered as a dug well readings only. Then after they started with the borewell readings. So we have considered that also. So we have compared and we put the graph, both bar graph as well as other type of graph also. It shows, the study shows the fluctuations during the monsoon and the summer will be clear. It is evident that during the summer, the water level goes below the normal level. In the monsoon, it is somewhat, it is okay. Next. And the same way, year-wise, we have compared the rainfall and groundwater table from 1994 in the Bogadi ranger station and Borel observations. So we have considered both the things. We have tabulated in the right side also, abstract. Year-wise also calculated 94 to 2004. So how it fluctuates? It was shown clearly in the graph. Next. So what we feel that, so it is possible to recharge the in the purpose of recharging the Purnaiah canal system by planning the urban area flood control when they contour canal corridors, that is a greenway or walking cycle path, or canal system for urban water harvesting and tank filling and interlinking of the system. Re-establishing the interlinking of the system. Then why the repurpose needs? That is the most important thing. The storm water can be repurposed to carry the monsoon runoff, because in some areas, that is especially in Bogadi area, flooding occurs once in 4 years or 5 years regularly. To control the flooding, so it is a need. There is a need of feed canal to repurpose. Then to times and recharge of the wells. So once you start the recharging, so automatically groundwater level position also going increased. Thereby to increase the groundwater table also. So these things will come under hydrological studies. This is a one overview of the study only. Next. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Just for all the listeners who are on the thing, what sir I just would like to summarize what sir spoke through his presentation. Mysore, situated along the elevated ridge dividing the Kaveri and Kaveri basins, had limited rainwater runoff for harvesting and distribution. Climatologically, Mysore is a semi-arid region with grass and scrubland covering the landscape. So water was a crucial factor for the region's development. So it was Diwan Purnaiah who commissioned surveys to explore ways of getting water to Mysore. So this resulted in the canal scheme from the elevated Jeevajala ridge on the western side of Mysuru. This region is about 100 meters higher than Mysore. So this is where it becomes a catchment area, and had about 8 lakes and a link canal. But this particular, all the lakes, they are the catchment area, or it flows off towards the south of Mysore. It does not really enter Mysore city as such. So this is where the Purnaiah canal, what we are talking about, was commissioned. A link canal from Huilalu Kere to Madagalli Doddakere gathered all the surplus water from the lakes. And later, a 25-kilometer long canal meandering along the edge of the highlands was excavated to connect it to the Kukkarahadli Kere. So the surplus water would flow into the Kukkarahadli Kere, filling it. This formed the lifeline for the growing town of Mysore. This is Sir technically expressed with all his information, and we have also shared a couple of this information in the annexes to the registered teams. Now, may I request, thank you very much, Ramesh sir, for putting across all the information.
Thank you, madam.
And can I request Lakshmi to please introduce our next speaker, that is architect Anjali Sharma.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. So our next speaker is Ms. Anjali Sharma. Anjali Sharma is a practicing architect associated with Sunil Nayak Architects, Mysuru. She holds a degree in architecture from University of Mumbai and masters in urban and regional planning from the School of Planning and Architecture, University of Mysore. With over 20 years of professional and academic experience from Mumbai, Delhi, Bareilly, and Mysore, she has taught at institutes including UST, WCFA, and SPA. She has also been an active volunteer with the Water Forum Mysuru since its inception. Her deep interest in exploring the role of design, planning as a correspondence between socio-spatial and environmental contexts, operating within the complexities of governance and power structures, has shaped her curiosity to investigate citizen-led participatory action and engage in interdisciplinary research spanning environmental, humanities, and art design and design practices at DWEEPA Center, Srishti Manipal Institute, Art, Design and Technology, Bangalore. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Lakshmi, for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, we can go to the first slide. I will be discussing the urbanization impact study undertaken to understand the development pattern along the Purnaiah Naala and how these transformations are affecting it. The intention is to document and compile these changes so that opportunities to revive and repurpose the Naala can be identified, and perhaps touch on repurposing strategies very briefly towards the end. Next slide, please. So Mysuru has this really interesting mix of old and new. Its heritage vibe and modern planning comes together to give the city a very distinct character. People think of it as a cultural capital, a heritage city, a counter-magnet to Bangalore, and a favorable tableland adjacent to the Western Ghats. And all of this is an attribute to its specific planning context, colonial history, and current urbanization trends. In this slide, I've tried to convey an overview of the spatial extent of urbanization envisioned for Mysuru under the Master Plan 2031. You will notice the Purnaiah Naala as the white wiggly line in the northwestern part of the Mysuru urban node. Now, the area within the red boundary is the delineated Mysuru-Nanjangud local planning area, or LPA. And you will also notice the two urbanizing nodes of Mysuru and Nanjangud node, and the vital water systems, the rivers Kabni, Kaveri, and the KRS Dam on top. Now, the Mysuru Master Plan 2031 is prepared to regulate the land use in the expanding areas, and it envisages protecting heritage, preserving natural features, and strengthening the local economy, while balancing these by encouraging the sustainable growth. Next slide, please. In this slide, I have tried to update about a proposal to form the Greater Mysuru City Corporation, which is underway, speculating on a much larger area for urban development. But with the way the city is changing, the big top-down plans aren't enough on their own. Now, the statistical data sourced from the revised master plan indicate that the special extent of the local planning area conservation is 507 square kilometers. That's the red boundary. And the total projected population of about 24 lakhs in 2031. The dense and moderately developed area of Mysuru city served by the MCC is approximately 130 square kilometers, which spreads over a radius of 20 kilometers. A proposal to constitute the Greater Mysuru Metropolitan Corporation is underway and targets almost 330 square kilometer area based on the premise of urban expansion. This data indicates that the area of planned development is speculatively delineated around the Mysuru urban node. As the city keeps growing, you can clearly see two distinct sides of Mysuru emerging. In the image inset, you can see the way the city has expanded over the years. So a crowded, bustling core and a rapidly spreading urban fringe. In the central core, there are a mix of land uses and limited infrastructure, making planning a bit tricky. And at the peripheries, rising land demand is pushing the city to expand outwards, sometimes faster than it should. Already, large land consolidations are underway in the peripheries by reappropriation of agricultural land for urban use. Next slide, please. Several ghost townships have emerged, manifesting as patchy, fragmented peripheral sprawl, driven by speculative land consolidations and land use conversions, either through real estate interventions or political grand but often short-sighted visions. The diagram in the center highlights the locations of several key infrastructural development proposals under the Mysuru Master Plan 2031, which aim to develop Mysuru into a metropolitan city. The urban expansion in Mysuru is rapidly changing the city's landscape, and what used to be mostly rain-fed agrarian land is now turning into built-up urban areas, and that's starting to affect the local ecology. Next slide, please. Now that I've given you all a brief glimpse into the planning and development context of Mysuru, I'll discuss the study's methodology. So the study focused on the impact of urbanization on Purnaiah Naale to firstly understand how development is changing the area. Secondly, to identify opportunities for its integration into the urban fabric, enabling it to function as a landscape feature. Now, thinking of the Naala as a climate-resilient blue-green infrastructure asset, rather than a neglected, vulnerable feature prone to encroachment or overbuilding. And lastly, to collate evidence of embedding the Purnaiah Naala into the Mysuru Master Plan 2031. And to figure this out, all kinds of sources were used, everything from the Mysuru Master Plan 2031 to village revenue maps, ASI topographic surveys, both old and new, tools such as Dishang, Google Earth, GPS devices were used to track Naala's route, and geotag key locations, including the drone survey. Next slide, please. Honestly, the most helpful work happens on the ground. The team walked and drove along the Naala, took photos, assessed its condition, and compared it with the digitized imagery from Google Earth and Bhuvan to better understand the Naala's profile in relation to the terrain pattern and habitation. Next slide, please. This is just an example of the analysis that was attempted. Naala's profile is traced on Google Earth and marked on the master plan to understand land use and built density and to identify stakeholder involvement along its edges. Next slide, please. The field observations were carefully matched to these locations to identify strategic issues and understand the complexities arising from the assigned land use, existing conditions, and activity patterns of the sites. All this information, maps, photos, field notes, help to create resources such as a base map, land use map, and stakeholder analysis. GIS and AutoCAD drafting softwares are used to turn everything into detailed drawings, and the study has been helpful in orienting participants during Naala walks and outreach events so far. The drawing resources, along with the scale model, help to collate data on terrain profile, natural drainage lakes, roads, neighborhoods, and land ownership. I will discuss the urbanization impact and the observations with the help of two schematic drawings now. Next slide, please. This drawing shows the changed land use around the Naala with new areas assigned for urbanization as per the Mysuru Master Plan 2031, primarily for residential development through a public-private participation mode, which is a PPP mode of development, where the real estate players and the local authority come together to develop land. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, Purnaiah Nala's presence and its continuity are not acknowledged in the master plan, leaving it vulnerable to encroachment and thereby erasing it forever. Its considerable stretches are lost to road development in Vijayanagar locality, and similar measures are underway in many other areas as well. In some spots, its cross-section is being reduced to a concrete drain-like feature, and this drawing, which is achieved by joining individual planning districts to get an idea of how the Nala looks in the master plan document. And you can really see that it is totally fragmented and there is no way to understand or establish its continuity. Next slide, please. We can go to the next slide. The continuity of the Nala only becomes apparent from the revenue maps. Nala's actual profile is entangled with the natural drainage feature and the various land parcels abutting them. The Purnaiah Nala as a system also supports wetlands or marshy low-lying areas wherever it intersects natural drainage streams. It also has several designated green and open spaces attached along its length in the proposed master plan. And all these spots offer an opportunity to envision the Purnaiah Nala as an ecological infrastructure for the city, and thereby significantly can increase the percentage of green and open spaces. Next slide, please. I think the order of the slides is a bit reworked. Can you switch to the next slide, please? And another next one. Next one, please. Is this the last slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so can you please go back to the revenue map compilation? Go back to the previous slide. Yeah, one more back. Yeah, here. Yes, yeah. This one is what I was looking at. Yeah. So what I just explained, that the Nala is actually tangled with the natural stream, if you see, right? And by joining the revenue maps and observing at the field, only one could, really get present to this fact. So this drawing, the revenue maps were put together. All the village revenue maps sourced from KGIS website. And this is very interesting because as a historical hydrological system, the Purnaiah Nala is shared by 11 village settlements. Can we go back to the previous slide? No, the other one, sorry. The revenue map, where all the revenue maps are joined together. Yeah, this one. So this is very interesting because as a historical hydrological system, the Purnaiah Nala is shared by 11 village settlements before it reaches the Kukreli Kere. And thereby it sustains groundwater recharge across a much larger area. It captures surface runoff and allows it to soak into the adjoining low-lying marshy pockets. The Nala functions more like a bioswale of a temporal nature. That is, water would be present only during the monsoon season and remain relatively dry otherwise. However, due to the groundwater recharge, it supports vegetation and biodiversity year-round, functioning as a micro-ecosystem. Yeah, now we can go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. During fieldwork, a few essential features along the Nala were observed. A cemetery near Kudremala slum, small farming patches near Martin Ketnhalli village, temple complex and sluice gate at Madgali Kere, and brick making facility at Hulalu Kere. So one has to very kind of carefully understand that the archetypal design of the Purnaiah Nala allows multiple uses for the communities interacting with it. Trees are growing inside it, along the pathways for people and animals to cross. You will find pipelines running across it. And thus, it is a strategic design thought that allowed rural communities to configure multiple ways to engage with it and take care of it by maintaining it. But unfortunately, now in most urban areas, people barely recognize the Nala as significant. And in residential layouts, it's often reappropriated through road construction. Thus, raising awareness and helping people reconnect with the Nala is very crucial. And instead of letting it quietly disappear, the Nala can be made useful again by better landscape design and integration of stormwater management infrastructure. Yet, keeping it as close to its natural form as possible so that it can continue to support biodiversity and ecosystem functions. Next slide, please. Yeah, so it is critical to develop goals and strategies and a vision for revitalizing the Nala as a social hydrological system. These ideas will help prepare a long-term framework, especially the one that respects the need of the local communities and enhances their connection to the place. Next slide, please. An approach focusing on site level microscopic investigation, right, that include local communities and trace their activity patterns will be very helpful. When people are a part of the process, planning becomes more grounded, practical, and responsive to what neighborhoods actually need. And hoping that the teams will engage deeply to highlight the role of Purnaiah Nala and come up with ecologically sensitive and socially relevant ideas that pave the way for participatory conservation for a climate resilient future of Mysore. This way, the Nala can become part of the urban environment as a meaningful blue and green feature, and cultural social spaces can be included wherever possible. Last slide, please. So the truth is, we are losing parts of Purnaiah Nala every day. Some stretches are already close to being erased, and that's why it becomes urgent to act now. And by involving communities, working with stakeholders, and treating the Nala as a vital piece of Mysore's heritage, if we do this right, we can make the city more climate resilient, protecting something that really matters. Lastly, I'll conclude saying that the process of studying and analyzing the Purnaiah Nala sites microscopically and in depth is equally important as the inferences and design ideas that the teams come up with. I would like to thank Lakshmi and Madhu for their help with the drawings and the field visits related to urbanization study. And I can probably take up questions at the end of the session. And thank you so much. All the best to all the participants. I'll conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjali, for the informative talk or the insight on urbanization. So it sort of highlighted that the catchment of the lake systems are transforming rapidly with land use and land cover change, leading to less groundwater recharge and increased runoff, along with so many other problems. And it becomes important to arrest shrinking blue and green areas due to urbanization and need to counter this by incorporating more pervious green spaces in the emerging urban landscapes for climate change resilience. Thank you so much, Anjali, for your presentation. And may I request Lakshmi to please introduce the next speaker, resource person, Ms. Supreet Kaur.
So our final speaker for today is Ms. Supreet Kaur. Supreet Kaur, trustee of Aranya Outreach Trust, has over 25 years of experience in the field of environmental education and education of sustainable development. Currently an active core member of Water Forum Mysuru, which is engaged in conducting various studies and public engagement activities about the Purnaiah Nala, a heritage waterway in Mysuru. She has expertise in conceptualizing and implementing programs, particularly to promote EE and EST across schools in India. Presently, as part of the Aranya Outreach Trust, she engages in various projects and activities, including nature walks, camps, treks, and workshops to promote awareness and action for the environment. Simultaneously, she works as a subject matter expert in EE and EST and takes on projects for content development and capacity building for international and national level organizations. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello. Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction, Lakshmi. I will be talking about a very important aspect of the study which we have done as part of the Purnaiah Naala, and that's the biodiversity. I'll keep the video off as of now. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is just a glimpse of some of the biodiversity that we have been able to, capture as we have studied the Naala for about over a year now. Please move on to the next slide. So to start with, why biodiversity? What are we doing as part of the biodiversity assessment? Why is it important for, any aspect of a study? So what we've tried to do is we've tried to understand the diversity and not the number. So that is an important aspect. What I mean is we have tried to identify the different types of species that inhabit various capes of the Naala and the different carriers the Naala touches upon. And we have tried to identify like what species live in which part of the Naala and what exactly these species are also doing over there. So why this is important is because it informs policy, it informs, it calls for action, it's also important for education and awareness. And that's why biodiversity studies are a very integral part of any study for any development purposes. The next slide, please. So what has been the objective of the biodiversity assessment as far as the Purnaiah Naala is concerned? So the major objective was to undertake baseline studies to understand the biodiversity present across the Naala. What I would like to point out here is Mysore has an immense number of people who have been studying biodiversity for decades now. So biodiversity documentation is not new as far as naturalists in Mysore are concerned, especially the avifauna diversity or the bird diversity. It's being documented for over 40 years. So different carriers in Mysore have been studied. But the Purnaiah Naala, which is an important connect between a couple of carriers across the city, has actually never been studied. So what this study has done has provided us the scope to understand what is important, what is the biodiversity which we have been able to find across the different spaces of the Naala. So that is one of the important aspects that we have been able to do as part of this study. So it's not just the avifauna, we have also looked at mammals, we have looked at the flora and some amount of the insect population. The next slide, please. So there is a methodology that we have adopted to study the biodiversity, and the very first was the identification of the transacts. So you have understood by now that the Naala was 25 kilometers long, but the Naala isn't 25 kilometers long as far as we are concerned today. Close to 18-19 kilometers of the canal is what of the Naala is what exists, and the rest has already been engulfed in the process of development. So the first step of the methodology was to actually understand what is the biodiversity in areas where the Naala exists today and also in areas where the Naala does not exist today. So literally the entire 25 kilometer stretch was walked on foot by making use of tools like the Shank app and the biodiversity was actually assessed in spaces where the Nala exists today, and also where it is non-existent today. So that was the very first thing which was done as part of the identification process. What this helped us to do is it helped us to arrive at different transacts, and the reason the transacts were chosen, I will come to it a little as we're talking. I'll also the transacts were chosen based on an understanding to understand whether the space is urbanized, whether it is a semi-urbanized space, but also a kind of space where it is, there's a lot of population, because all these factors actually affect the biodiversity. So we have actually looked at different types of scapes before identifying the transact. So the transact length that we arrived at was anywhere between 1.6 to 2 kilometers. So 5 such transacts were identified across, so covering close to 10 kilometers of the Nala which exists today. And what we also did was we, apart from this 10 kilometers of the Nala scape, we've also taken a biodiversity assessments for the 3 keres, the tanks the Nala touches, the Huilalu kere, the Madakali kere, as well as the Kokarali kere. So each kere has an embankment of roughly about, on an average of about 4 kilometers. So these transacts also have been conducted seasonally. So far we have conducted about five transacts in over a year's time, and it has enabled us to understand the seasonal usage of the landscape by the different types of birds, insects, as well as the animal species that we have been able to find over here. Can I request you to move to the next slide, please? Yeah. So what again is important over here is the sampling methodology. So like I mentioned, we have done what is called a line transact. And in a line transact, we actually walk in a line, and we identify or we record all the species that we are able to either see physically, or we are able to hear, or we're able to identify in terms of indirect evidence. So in indirect evidence, I mean either by pug marks, because we've been able to cite pug marks of leopards, or we have even identified animals by their scat. I mean, that is the animal droppings, or in case of the porcupine, we've also been able to actually get hold of a porcupine quill. So these are some indirect evidences of the sampling. We have also been able to, and whatever is recorded also is important to document. So as far as the bird diversity is concerned, we use the eBird app to record all the bird checklists. Like I mentioned earlier, it is important for us to identify the species and not really go by the numbers, but because the eBird app is also designed to take numbers, so numbers have also been recorded as far as the birds are concerned. We've also looked at a lot of photographic evidences to record biodiversity, and these have also been documented and available with us. Can I request for the next slide, please? Yes, so these have been some findings. So like I mentioned, we've studied, what you can see in the pictures are some of the different types of animal droppings that we have come across to enable us to understand what kind of species inhabit the spaces that we are trying to actually document. So what you can also see in the table is the different types of both flora, I mean plants. So in plants, we've looked at trees, shrubs, and herbs. And you can also see numbers that have been found across the Nala scape. We have been able to identify about 15 species, and surprisingly, like I mentioned, we also got to see the spotted deer. So you can imagine, spotted deer is something which you would think we could see either in the zoo or in a national park, but we were actually able to sight it along the bund of one of the keres. So it helps us, why it is important, it helps us understand that these spaces are extremely important to support the local biodiversity in various ways. And what is also interesting to note here is that Mysore hosts the golden jackal within the city, and the Kukurali Kere also is one of the places where the jackal has been found along with even pups. So it's an amazing space, and it's important to document these species, and also important to create awareness. We've also documented some butterflies and some dragonflies and damselflies. So like I said, these have been recorded seasonally. So in different seasons, different species have also been recorded over the course of 1 year, over a year. Can I ask you to move to the next slide, please? Yeah, so these are glimpses of some of the different biodiversity which has been found. What I would like to add here is that so biodiversity is just not being found in terms of coming to the place and going away, but some of these species are actually breeding over here. So the pelican, which is pelicans, the oriental darters, and the ibis, which are also considered as either nearly threatened or vulnerable as far as the IUCN Red List is concerned, are species which are found to breed well in Kukurhali Kere, which is also classified as an important bird area network. For people who follow birds and understand birds, they will realize that an IBA is a very important area to support bird life. So we have been able to cite different types of snakes, the mongooses, of course, and the golden jackal, which I also kind of mentioned to you a little before that. There are all types of birds. There are birds which are found in waters. They are in the water, like you can see the spot-billed duck as well as the pelicans. There are birds which, like the lapwings, which are found, which can be seen in one of the photographs here on the right-hand corner, are birds which are ground breeding birds. So these are again, so it's important to preserve these spaces so that we have different types of animals which continue to reside in our urban scape. Can I request you to move to the next slide, please? Yeah, so there were a few local species that we found. There were also a lot of migratory species which visit our keres, and also the different segments of the Nala that we have walked. So this is a glimpse of some of the migratory species that we have cited. The next slide, please. So again, coming back to the importance of biodiversity. So biodiversity is important because it helps enhance the ecosystem services. It is important because it is an important urban corridor. So in considering today's setup where we have a lot of road, and as Anjali was pointing out, the road network is increasing, so there is limited green space. So if the green spaces are connected with each other, then there's a scope for both the animals, the birds, and the pollinators to move from one green space to another green space. So it's extremely important to have these urban corridors to maintain a healthy urban biodiversity, to maintain healthy urban biodiversity. It also is, because it's going to have a lot of unpaved space. The soil is obviously more permeable than paved spaces, so there is going to be better water percolation. Of course, there is increased urban food availability, because we have seen a lot of tree species, for example, jackfruits, tamarind, mango. So all these go towards providing, not just animals with the food requirement, but also suffice to the human requirement of food. There is better regulated urban heat and humidity, and Champa mentioned in the beginning that Mysore is a semi-arid region, so Mysore gets very hot, And if we are going to continue to lose our the green urban spaces, then we are only going to enhance the urban heat effect. So in order to, if we are able to conserve these spaces, then we are actually doing a lot of good for ourselves. Of course, it is an important nature-based solution. So it helps us reduce flooding, urban flooding. It helps us negate the urban heat, which I just pointed out a little while back. And it sustains pollination. So we have pollination by bees, we have pollination by birds, we also have pollination by bats. So if you have a lot, and if we want a healthy ecosystem, we require our pollinators. So it is not just sufficient for us to have the biodiversity, but it is also sufficient for us to have a good quality biodiversity, so that there is an overall healthy ecosystem which is maintained. And last but not the least, it definitely helps us in carbon sequestration. So with the climate change, carbon sequestration is an important aspect which the flora of any city is going to be able to address. The next slide, please. So now this is more in regards with the design competition. So just looking at, I mean, it's important for us to support biodiversity. I think I have been able to kind of put that point across quite strongly in the slides which went by. But it is also important for us to do this in a sustainable way, and also with the kind of changes that we are having in our urban setup today, also find innovative solutions to be able to support our biodiversity. So, but why are we doing this, and what is it that maybe you guys as as participants on the design competition possibly think of? So I've just shot out some ideas here, and something like either you look at establishing an urban corridor, or you think of native plants or areas where native plants can be supported, or you look at possibilities of urban food production, because a human species is such that it understands gain. So when we show a possibility of gain, that yes, we are going to benefit from this situation, then we are generally ready to kind of contribute. So food is an extremely important way of showing that yes, this area is productive for both us and as well as other animals and birds around us. And last but not the least, how do we look at education and building awareness so that we have a community of people who are willing to stand by us and help us to not just stand for the place, but also help us in sustaining it and building it in a very positive way. Yeah, thank you so much for listening me out, and I could take questions a little later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Supreet Kaur. What is important for us is to understand is that lake not only preserves its aesthetic beauty, but also to protect the environment and at large and in and around the lake. So the microclimate, what we speak about. So the ecological importance of the lake and the green corridor, that would be the canal and its environs, which acts as the lungs of our city. So that is the hope that we are looking forward through each of your ideas. So these are supposed to be our biodiversity hotspots within the urban areas, which I'm sure we will be able to contribute to. The flora, fauna are an integral part of our life, as all of us are aware. There is a big question in front of each one of us, not only being the Mysoreans, I'm sure the same question arises across the world. I thank you very much, Supreet, for taking us through the biodiversity information of Kukkarahalli and Purnaiah Canal.
Yeah,
and all the other lakes and Mysore in general.
I would
Yes.
just like to intervene, and I missed thanking out Saptagiri Shemke as well as Yogi, who were instrumental in actually conducting these surveys, in doing the photographic documentation of the different biodiversity that was spotted, as well as in helping create the awareness. So a big thank you to both of them.
Thanks to all the presenters, Anjali, Ramesh sir, and Sukhpreet. It was really nice to have all of you presenting in a very short time. I know there was an extensive work by each one of you regarding your presented topics, and it's not the end of it, it's rather the beginning of it, I could also say it. So thanks to all three of you, and thanks to Lakshmi for introducing all our speakers, and our tech team, Hemant and Hananil, Professor Hananil. Thanks to both of you. As all of you are aware, you may reach us on WhatsApp on the numbers which have been given, and through email or on call for any kind of clarification or any help that you may need. Okay, so this is because some people had already asked for it. So just giving a clarification on that. Yeah, so we do have the next series of expert talk in the month of February and March. And as it gets planned, we will be updating and informing all the registered members. So do please spread the word and ask your professional friends and as well as this other students to register for the competition. And this is just a small step from us towards Mysore city. I'm sure this also will open up ideas for how we can incorporate this kind of development into urban planning or in terms of environmental planning. Thanks to all of you.